What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. My name is John Vine, and today we're going to be talking about some mistakes that new developers make. Now, this could apply to you whether you're still learning how to code or if you have just recently gotten your first dev job. I've realized there's a couple of mistakes that new developers make, and there's definitely mistakes that I made when I just started out. So I thought I'd share them with you guys today. As always, guys, if you enjoy the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out so much. It's completely free for you, and you can always unsubscribe. So if you could do that, I would really appreciate it. So the first mistake is you don't follow the general coding standards. Now, this could apply to several different things. Now, when you're gonna join a company, they're gonna have their own kind of standards that they use for naming variables and naming functions and all that stuff. So what you have to realize is that you have to follow those coding standards when you're actually going to be implementing whatever you're doing, like a bug fix or a feature. You have to follow those standards as well, just to make the code consistent among the entire code base. And so it's a lot easier to read and all the developers are on the same page. Now, languages also have their own coding standards. Like, for example, some of them require semicolons, some of them don't. And some of them, for example, like for a new function, the curly braces could be on a new line or the same line as like the function definition. And so there's like little nuances between languages that you should be aware of, and you have to apply those when you're coding as well. So when you're going into your first job, just recognize that there will be a lot of coding standards that you're gonna have to follow, as well as different best practices as well. For example, like writing reusable code, often refactoring your code. And what I mean by that is after you're done writing a feature or you're done writing a certain code, you go back later and you make it better, you make it more efficient. And this is definitely part of the job as a software developer, like refactoring code and making it better. And so you're gonna have to be doing this as well. In terms of the standards, there's probably gonna be some documentation available for you, so it's not gonna be like you have to do all the research by yourself. But just so you guys make sure that you follow whatever standards that you have to follow at your new position. Another mistake that a lot of new software developers also make is not taking the time to learn version control. I definitely made this mistake as well. I saw it as something that's not required. I was like, why do I need to do this? I can just use GitHub. I can barely use the terminal. I just have to git push and whatever. But we're using version control is definitely the best practice, and being good at it is a very, very valuable skill. If you can get very good at using Git and being able to manage different versions of code on the terminal and getting really good at the command line with Git, that's a very, very valuable skill. Not a lot of people are really proficient at using Git, and if you can be someone on your team that can be that one that is pretty skilled that people can go to for help, that's always a very, very valuable member of a team. I definitely know that in some of my past jobs, especially when I was an intern and I would run into some sort of issue, there was always one person that was very good at Git and was able to help me out, and I was always very grateful. And you're going to be working on a code base with multiple different people at the same time, most likely, if you're going to be working as part of a team. So being able to use Git is going to be very beneficial. It'll ensure that you don't mess anything up on the repository that you and your team members are working with, and it'll just make you an overall better programmer. So I would definitely take the time. Don't skip out on learning Git. Definitely take the time. It'll teach you some very valuable skills, and it will also make you stand out as a developer if you're really, really good at Git. Now, probably the biggest mistake that I see new developers make would be jumping into the code kind of without knowing what it should do or without knowing what it already does. Right? So for example, if you get assigned a feature and you kind of know what you're doing and you kind of know where to add it, so you just jump right in and you start coding, you add it up, it works, but then you realize that a lot of places you could have made it more efficient. You realize that the strategy you took to solve the problem could have been simpler, and this can all be solved by properly planning beforehand. You should take the time to see what different parts of the code are going to be affected when you're building this feature, you're fixing this bug. What is actually the scope of the current project that you're working on? What kind of endpoints are required? If there's any database changes you have to make, you should plan out and know all of this kind of stuff beforehand, so that when you actually start coding, you already know what you're going to do, and it's just a matter of writing out the code. You already have the plan and you already know that it's kind of going to work, and you just have to actually write it down. This is definitely the best way to go about it, and the best way to ensure that the code you're writing is to the best quality that you can deliver. And also, guys, don't make the mistake of just jumping right into a project if you don't know what the code that you're going to be modifying also does. Oftentimes, it has effects on different parts of the code, so you really have to know, the scope of what you're going to be modifying, and that'll ensure that, the code you're writing won't break anything and that it'll actually work, right? Now, finally, probably the god tier of mistakes that new developers make is, ignoring test cases, not writing test cases, or, kind of removing some to make them pass, stuff like that. That kind of stuff should be avoided. I know it's hard. It's very tempting to just never write the test cases, but you should really try to write them to cover all of the code that you're writing, because that is just generally best practice within the industry. I know it's super tempting, guys. You're done coding and you submit it, you push it, and it's done. But if you write test cases and you make sure you run through them all when you build a project, it'll make sure that any errors that might be outside of the scope of your project. So like, you modify some code and it has an effect on something, unrelated to what you're working on, but you just don't know that it has an effect on that. If you run your code through tests, through test cases that cover all of the code you're working with, then you'll catch that error, where otherwise, if you didn't have unit test cases, you would have probably missed it. So writing test cases is one of those tedious things that not a lot of developers do, but take it as an opportunity to learn a new skill, to get better at something that's different, and just another challenge, another new piece of code you have to write. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit shorter today. Hopefully you guys won't be making these mistakes in the future, but if you do, it's all right. Like, everyone's in a learning process, so if you do make these mistakes, don't worry about it. Just keep moving forward and try not to do them again. Let me know if you guys enjoyed the video. As always, if you did, press the like button and subscribe to the channel. I said it before, but it's free for you guys. It means so much to me, and I would greatly appreciate a like and a subscription. If you guys also want to add anything to the conversation, you think there's anything I missed, or there's anything you disagree with, feel free to leave a comment down below. And as always, guys, take it easy and have a good day.